I once met an American who sincerely believed that Christianity was invented in America. And when I tried to explain that it originated in the Middle East about 2,000 years ago, he got defensive and said, "That's fake news." Jesus was born in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. A tourist from Texas asked my Muslim friend if Ramadan was that thing where y'all dress up like ninjas and summon the moon god. She was completely serious, sipping her iced latte like she just asked a normal question. I had an American coworker who thought Catholic and Christian were two completely separate religions that competed against each other for followers, like Pepsi and Coke. An American woman once told me she couldn't visit India because she was allergic to Hinduism. When asked what she meant, she said, "All the spices and chanting give me migraines." A guy on Facebook once told me Buddhism can't be a real religion because they don't believe in Jesus, heaven, or Walmart. I think that last part was unintentional truth. My neighbor proudly told me he was open-minded about religions because he celebrates both Christmas and Halloween. A college student once told me he doesn't trust Jews because they killed Jesus. When I reminded him that Jesus was Jewish, he blinked and said, "That's impossible. Why would he kill himself?" An American tourist in Rome asked a local priest if the Vatican was basically like the Disney World of Christianity. The priest smiled politely, but you could see a small part of his soul leave his body. I once had someone tell me that atheists can't get married because the church won't let them. When I asked what church, they said, the government one. A woman in a Bible study group said earthquakes happen because God gets mad when people forget to say grace before eating. She was dead serious, and half the group nodded in agreement. I met a guy who claimed Muslims pray to a golden cube somewhere in the desert. When I showed him a picture of the Kaaba, he said, "Yeah, that's what I mean. It's basically idol worship." An American once said to a Buddhist monk, "I love how your people worship Buddha like he's a fat Santa Claus." The monk just smiled, probably out of centuries of practiced patience. A woman in a grocery store told me she doesn't vaccinate her kids because God made the immune system. I wanted to ask if she also refused glasses because God made eyesight, but I value staying alive. Someone told me Mormons aren't Christians because they live in Utah. That was their entire argument. Geography apparently defines theology now. I once saw an American online claim that Jesus spoke English because he's from heaven and English is God's language. When someone replied in Hebrew, she blocked them for mocking God. A man at a barbecue said that Jewish people don't believe in Christmas because they don't have snow where they live. The worst part? He was trying to sound educated. I once heard an American insist that the Quran is just the Muslim version of the Bible that got translated wrong. Like it was a bad Google Translate job that caused a global religion. A guy in my high school swore that Hinduism was the one with the elephant god who controls the Wi-Fi. I don't even know how to unpack that. I overheard a woman say that Scientology must be the study of science in church. When told it's a controversial cult, she said, "Oh, like yoga?" A self-proclaimed patriot told me that Buddhists are anti-American because they don't celebrate Christmas. He said, "It's disrespectful to Jesus who founded this country." A man on a plane once asked a Muslim passenger to turn off his praying app because he thought it could interfere with the flight system. I heard someone say they respect Islam because at least they have one god, not like those pagans with their Greek yoga. A tourist once asked a Hindu priest if he could take a selfie with the cow goddess. When told cows are sacred, he said, "Cool. So is this like your version of Chick-fil-A?" I once saw an American confidently explain online that the cross is a reminder of how Jesus killed the devil with a sword. A woman asked me if all Jewish people speak Latin because that's the Bible language. When I said Hebrew, she said, "Oh, so like witchcraft." An American told me that Buddhism is dangerous because You open your mind too much and demons come in. When I asked where she learned that, she said, TikTok. Someone once argued that atheists can't have morals because they don't have a church to tell them what's right. I asked how he'd know murder is wrong if his pastor didn't say so, and he just stared at me like I'd cast a spell. A man at work refused to attend a Diwali party because he didn't want to catch karma. I overheard a woman say the Bible is 100% American literature. She even added, "That's why it's in English." A man said Native Americans should convert to Christianity so they can learn about God's creation of America. I don't think irony has ever been so murdered in one sentence. Someone once told me that God lives above the clouds in a big gold castle. And when I asked if that's a metaphor, they said, "No, that's where NASA found him." I met a woman who thought monks take vows of silence because they can't afford microphones. A guy online once argued that the Bible was written before dinosaurs because there's no way God would create something that big and not mention it. A woman once told me Muslims pray 5 times a day to charge their spiritual batteries. She said it so sincerely, I almost didn't laugh. A tourist in Japan asked if Shinto was like the Japanese version of Christianity, but with sushi. An American man told me that Jews wear yarmulkes to keep God from reading their thoughts. I think he might be confusing religion with aluminum foil. Someone once said that Catholics worship Mary, the mother of Jesus, because she's like their version of a female god. A woman once complained that yoga tricks people into worshiping Hindu demons through stretching. She said it while wearing yoga pants. A man online said evolution can't be true because if we came from monkeys, why are there still monkeys? I told him the same reason there are still Americans and Europeans. An American pastor once claimed on TV that atheists secretly believe in God because they keep talking about him. That's like saying vegetarians secretly love steak. A lady on Facebook said Muslims face Mecca to watch the sunrise from Jesus' tomb. Someone once said Jews can't go to heaven because heaven is for Christians only. When asked what Jesus was, he said, the first Christian, obviously. A guy said he didn't believe in Buddhism because there's no proof Buddha ever existed, like the dinosaurs. 2 conspiracies, 1 sentence. I heard a woman say the 10 Commandments were written by George Washington. An American tourist in Egypt asked if the pyramids were built by Noah to survive the desert flood. A man once told me Muslims can't eat pork because pigs are Christians. Someone argued that meditation was demonic because when your mind goes blank, that's when Satan sneaks in. A woman said that Jesus created dinosaurs to test our faith in fossils. I once met a guy who thought Easter was the day Jesus invented chocolate eggs to show love to kids. And finally, a man from Florida told me he doesn't believe in other religions because God's American and the rest are just fan clubs.